Good morning. Good morning. I'll call to order this meeting of the Executive Committee of the Columbia Economic Development Corporation, which the first order of business is minutes of our meeting of March 4th. If you have any questions or additions or corrections,
Motion to approve.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Mike.
Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. The 2026 CEDC budget is next. We have a time element. We need to submit a final budget for 2026 to the authority's budget office by a certain date. What is that date?
October
31st.
31st, thanks. I blanked that.
All right, so that'll give us two board meetings to review the budget and make a final. But the first step is to review it with the executive committee, and
Then the finance committee. And then we vote on it.
okay.
To put it in context, I did give you a blown up copy since there's one in the packet, but does get compressed when it goes to 8.5 by 11. But if you look at the legal page that I also handed out, the third line from the bottom shows net revenues in excess of expenditures. And the third line from the top shows total revenue. The budget that I have, draft budget that I have prepared is based on total revenue of $1,245,000. You can see that our total revenues in 2022 jumped from 877 in 21 to 1,131, 1,181, 1,561. And part of that the jump in 561 was the result of getting the $300,000 micro enterprise grant, which also results in the expenses jumping up 300,000. But we have grown the budget over time. And if we go back down to the third line from the bottom again, you can see that with the exception of 2015, when I got here and we wrote off several loans that were on the books relating to I think it was the hotel, Martha, right, in Greenport, Mr. Singh. And we cleaned up the balance sheet. And then, we did have a paper loss in 2027 when the Apple Ice project, we were not booking the corresponding entry when we were booking these grants that turn into, or loans that turn into grants. And so we didn't have the asset to write off the liability.
The 2020.
2020. But and that since then, obviously, when we realized that was going to be an issue going forward, we have now booked both entries. But you can see, we try to, like all not-for-profits, run at a point where we show at least a marginal net income. We also adjust that, as you know, as we get towards year end, to add money if there is excess net income, to add it to the loan loss reserve account, so that if we have loan losses in the future, we're not hitting that income, we're only hitting the balance sheet. So just to put that in context. What I then did on the 11 by 17 sheet is we looked at the actual of 2024 and 2025 projections. And then a budget number. You can see that in 2024 and 2025, we received from the Columbia County IDA and the city IDA $12,500 for the basic administrative services. I've talked to the chair of both IDAs that the administrative work that Lisa's doing, the cost of doing it is increased. and that, our 2026 contract is going to be proposed at, $18,000 a year instead of 12,500. They were receptive to that. The other item is that in addition to the base fee for both IDAs, we do receive 10% of the agency fee, which is 1% of the total project costs, with a cap of $10,000. These $40 million projects that the city of Hudson IDA has been getting, and there's two of them on the table right now, has been taking way more than that amount of time over the course of the project. And we have discussed again with the two IDAs that 10% of the fee up to $25,000.
Just raise the cap.
Yeah, raise the cap. So, you know, that, and that's realistic in terms of, what we've discussed. The next line is the Office of Community Renewal Grant Income. I put 20,000 in. That is basically it's the, anticipated kinderhook fee that we would, and, that we will be able to draw down next year. Right, it's a 20, is it 25,000, Steve?
29 total.
So, and drawn down some?
None.
None. We're gonna do 10 this year and 20 next year. So this is assuming, right, we have the balance,
Yeah.
right? This is assuming that we are only going to have Office of Community Renewal income on projects that are already on the books. We believe that we can do another $350,000 grant for the micro enterprise loan, and what's that, a $25,000? But again, I didn't want to get ahead of ourselves because some of that is federal money and it may be cut off by the state or the feds to the state. We have a new item, land bank income. We have a contract with Columbia County Land Bank now to provide administrative services, including a portion of Chris Brown's time as our housing coordinator, to run their land bank. And that contract has been approved. It runs through June 30th of next year, but, you know, there's administrative funding for that from the state. And the idea is that within 2 years, the land bank would be hopefully generating revenue on its own.
Is that a flat fee or is that like a percentage of the, oh, it's flat fee? Okay.
Yeah.
And there's one more year after next year.
Yeah. So, but you know, the goal is that we, and what that basically does is replace the $90,000 that we're getting now from the county. For which we get through the end of this year. For the housing position. You'll see that we've also, as you jump down to the Columbia County appropriation, we've asked for to go from $460,000 a year to $500,000. And that would pick up $40,000, which would then make the housing position whole. And our conversation with the chair of the Board of Supervisors has indicated that they believe that that's something they can do. Obviously, the county budget won't be finalized until late October, November. We're showing $60,000 in broadband income, and we're showing, you know, a portion of that as an expense. That's in connection with the grant that we currently have. It's a $60,000 grant for 2 years for a total of $120,000. And as I think you may recall, we have been discussing with the state moving that into a cellular wireless study category, but we would still receive the funding, and I'll address it again when we get into the expenses. I mentioned the county appropriation. That really should have been on the line down below that says Columbia County income 460. And you can see that the 90,000 in Columbia County housing income for 2 years drops off in 2026, but we pick it up with the $60,000 in land bank income and the $40,000 increase. I did have a conversation with, so then if you go to the next line, we really should have put the land bank, $60,000 on that line as well. But you can see we had 35,000 in land bank, funding, this year. On the Columbia Forward, that program is over at the end of this year. I did have a conversation, with Bill Gerlich at the chamber. The way that was working was we received 150,000, we took 20,000 off the top to manage the program. And we split the balance of 130, 50-50 with the chamber, where we each got $65,000 for a staff person. That is very important to the chamber. And Bill and I did have a discussion, and he has he's had a preliminary discussion. He's had a preliminary discussion with the chairman about even though the ARPA money is gone, getting some allocation for the chamber and CEDC. You know, my guess would be that it would result in us getting 65,000 instead of a $40,000 increase. And then the chamber would get $65,000 increase. Sales tax are back up. The county's a little less nervous than they were previously, but I haven't budgeted that because I know that we can get the 40. But bank interest, we've dropped it down only because as we put money out on the loan front, we don't have it in the bank account, and because we continue to put the full amount of the interest that we're earning on the loans into the loan fund, we're you know, our cash position is down from about 750 5 years ago to about 450 reserves now. Plus, you know, the banks are kind of, we're not really sure where they're going to be. We were a little bit over budgeted for actual interest this year, so I just reduced it based on current balances. The good news is that you know, we have showing $5,000 or $4,000 increase in interest on loans. The loan program, you know, went from 120,000 in actual interest last year to projected 126 this year. I thought 130 was reasonable, considering that we did get another $1 million tranche from the SBA. And you know, we are, as you know, with a 5 to 7 year term on most of our loans, the money comes in faster than we can get it back out on the street. Membership and sponsorship is the big reach. You know, we've been somewhere between 40 and 50 consistently. And you know, I think that you know, we have discussed that the full board a program where we could jumpstart that. And but that is the lift that we're talking about. But you know, Riley Werner and I have preliminarily done a pyramid to show, you know, how many people we need at the $2,500 level and how many we need at the $150 level to get to 75. And we'll share that at the board meeting. Other income is a whole bunch of things. It's on some of our loans, we take an application fee. Some we have late fees. It's not a big number, and it's consistent with at least the last 2 or 3 years at 6,500. On the micro enterprise, you'll see it's jumped to 280. And we did that because Martha, we got an increase in our loan to 292 or 289?
293.
293, up from the 262 range.
Right.
But that's on a half-year basis because that's contract is from July 1 of 2025 to June 30th of 2026. And we budgeted as if in 2026 to 2027, we go back to the 260 level. You know, just to not, it's not guaranteed that we would even be at the 260 level, but I didn't want to, we have gone up consistently over the last 10 years. That brings our total income to $1,245,000 projected, $70,000 less than last year. Now, when you go back up and look at the two IDA projects, one of the reasons I used 25,000 as the cap, the proposed new cap, both agencies are looking at adjusting their fee schedule. That if the first 25,000 or first $25 million would be at 1%, and anything over 25 million would be at 25 basis points. So that, you know, it's really unconscionable to be asking people for a $400,000 fee on a project. Any questions on the income? On the expense side, our conference and training, we're under budget, but I did budget 7,500. I think it's important for staff to be able to go to continuing education conferences. More and more of those are by webinar where you pay a fee. It's important that we attend a variety of conferences. You know, Chris attends several housing conferences a year. I attend several economic development association meetings. And you know, these organizations make money by, you know, $300 to $500 registration fees, even if there's no travel or hotel accommodations involved. On consulting fees, you know, I've reduced that because as you see on the TSI line, a half a year, July to December, you won't be paying me at that level. And we can come back to the consulting line in the executive session. Direct program expense is our annual meeting. You know, we were able to get the cost down by going to the college. So I'm assuming that that's what we would attempt to do again. And I used the old budget number for that. Employee payroll expenses go up $92,000 overall if you look at the bottom. And we then can go through that in executive session. But remember, you're reducing $70,000 in consulting expense to get $92,000 in CEO on the payroll.
Mhm.
Our rent goes up. You know, we did extend the lease so that we have an additional 5-year option at the end of 4 more years. And under the current lease, and that has a 3% escalator in it. Our grant expense, the only grant that we budgeted for is providing a $5,000 grant to the Capital Resource Corporation to keep it in business. If you look at the other grants, they were primarily pass-throughs. Obviously, once we recorded the $150,000 of income from the county for Columbia Forward, we then paid it out as a grant to the chamber. We did provide last year $4,800 to the land trust, which we were reimbursed for. We did assist the Maston Park in the town of Stockport. They received a grant from someone that was looking for a tax deduction, and we've used it to pay expenses for the improvement of their park, similar to what we did in Germantown at a previous time. And then we had a $2,500 micro enterprise round 2 grant we received the income for that in 2024, but we didn't accrue a liability for it, so, we had to expense it this year. Or we didn't accrue the credit. So you also, can see that, we're down $77,000 in grant, expenses. And we won't have land bank expenses because, we spent the money to get to do the incorporation startup. And, we did get, $35,000 in fees from the land bank to reimburse us for that. As well as some other expenses. As you can see, we budgeted $60,000 up above for the broadband study. I'm expensing 45,000 of that for consultants and others, which is high. But, we do have a requirement for a 10% in-kind, 20% in-kind match, but we can use that with staff time. Housing, I did budget $15,000 for initiatives related to housing. You can see in the past, we haven't spent that amount, but that's what we have been budgeting over time. And we won't have the strategic plan expense this year. And I also budgeted the $15,000 for the workforce and education program that we had funded at the college. But again, that program did not really materialize this year. So there is, at least $30,000 there that I don't have a plan as to how we'll spend it, but, our office expense, continues to creep, so I did a 3% increase. Kathy Leiden, our bookkeeper, and I are going through that to see, how can we get a 5 to 10% off on those expenses. We won't have this year, the telephone expense because we did reduce it, after the current vendor doubled it by going through the process that, Steve Vandenberg helped us with to, do voice over data. I do think we'll have some website expense though too. I think it needs a refresher based on some of the things we talked about at the board. And with some of you in terms of marketing. Our EIDL interest is holding at about 2,500. It keeps going down. I think remember we took $100,000 EIDL loan. It was a 2.75% 30-year loan that the SBA provided to not-for-profits and businesses during COVID. We didn't know about PPP2 when we took it. And so we didn't want to be in a position of having to lay anyone off during COVID. So what we're doing is we're paying it back on a 5-year schedule. And I think we're, by this year, we'll be down to 45,000 on the outstanding balance. So I carried the same interest, but the interest is going to be less. Miscellaneous expense, we spent 600, we're projecting 667 this year. I suppose after the foundation lunch yesterday where we overbought, I can manage that and put that down to. Professional fees. We are doing an RFP on audit. And we'll ask you to authorize the release of that at the board meeting. We did get a increase based on having to do the extra work for the single audit. But I didn't want the candidates, including the incumbent, bidding on the project, thinking that we already expected a 3% increase on last year's number. We based our legal fees, Andy, based on historic billings, and you underbill us, so we could be off on that number, but there's some cushion if we need you. When we need you, not if. And the payroll service currently is at $2,500 a year, so I did a modest increase there. Public relations and marketing, we've always budgeted 17.5. It seems to be close number. Our SBA interest, we were off this year. I forgot the fact that during COVID, they gave us multiple times where there was no interest charged. And, so we do see when we do the income and expenses at the board meeting that we are off on that interest line. So we brought it up almost $10,000. And this budget shows us with a $10,000 operating balance. And in the past, we budgeted at a zero. But you know, I can hide it somewhere if we want to go back with a zero budget to the state or the feds. That was the state, if to refile it. So I think it's a reasonable budget. I think, you know, I provided the 10-year history to give you the sense that with the exception of the year we wrote off in 2015, major loan that defaulted on a hotel that wasn't built, and that we had to write off a project in 2020 where we hadn't appropriately booked a asset against the liability, that, you know, we have been able to sustain. And the year that the 2018, where we had the 391, that was the year that we received the $360,000 payment from David Ginsburg for the purchase of the land that had been intended to be used for his new facility. Well, it's only a budget, and there'll be variances, plus and minus, but you know, I'm comfortable, you know, going into this as I have been in previous years of that we can do this, and if we don't, there are corresponding expenses that won't occur if we don't generate some of the revenue, and in other places, we can do what every other business does when they're off budget, tighten up.
Thank you for your time and your work on this budget. It's not an easy task to bring together.
We're pretty well automated, so, you know, give me 3 years and, you know.
There are several items in here that we need to discuss in executive session. Before we do, any members of the committee with questions or concerns, comments on what you've heard so far? Okay.
We keep going into the executive session at the end.
Are there additional budget things you want to cover right now?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to do the executive session now, if that's all right.
No.
I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. All right,
Recording in progress.
we're reviewing the employee handbook update. It has to be approved by the board, then it would be posted on the website. We do it every 1 to 2 years. Engaging our HR counsel, Elena DeFiokeen. I think the only thing we need to add in here is that Martha noted that we don't mention that we have a employee life insurance plan, which is it one year salary or? I think so.
1 year's salary with $100,000 cap.
Yeah. So, you know, and we'll add that, but we do need your recommendation to the full board to approve it.
questions, comments? Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. We're going to table the remainder of the agenda for next time. If there's anyone from the public attending, we're happy to listen to your comments, questions, criticisms, and complaints. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good. Thank you for
Lisa.
you are.
Tara.
Yeah,